Weather and life both change quickly. Do you have a farm estate plan? You need to learn the best option to help your family avoid or minimize federal estate taxes and other costs.
I'm Brad Swenson, President of Swenson Investments in Commodities. We work confidentially with farmers, ranchers, and advisors to help develop the best farm estate plan.
What makes a weed a weed? You know, Darren and I were talking about this a little bit because we had a weed of the week back a few weeks ago. I don't even remember which weed it was. And anyway, a few people sent in, well, you should be using that weed because it could be feed for some animal or something else. I just said, well, yeah, we could, but you know what? We don't have a whole field of it. We just have a few plants out in a cornfield. So if it's not a corn plant, it's a weed.
Well, a weed is really just a plant that could be a useful plant, but it's growing in the wrong place.
Right.
You think about it, if there's a tree, I mean, trees are great. I love the trees I have in my yard, but if it was growing in the middle of the road, that would be in the way. It would be in the wrong place, and somebody would have to cut that thing down and get it out of the way. And really, when we're talking about weeds, like Brian said, some of them are very useful. There are a number of things, like right here, we're in a corn field. Okay, we've got corn planted in nice rows. It's going to be easy to harvest, easy to take care of. But if there's a few of these corn plants popping up in our soybean field, it'd be the worst thing imaginable. They would destroy our soybean yields. They would ruin the crop that they are in. So weeds are just plants growing in the wrong place.
So what happens a lot of times is people will say, well, how about if you just had a blend of crops out there and we just used all that as forage? You know, what I found is if you're not focused on raising one good crop, you're going to raise a whole bunch of mediocre crops and you're going to have a lot less total forage in the end. So if you want to raise a great crop of corn to blend with a great crop of sorghum, to blend with a great crop of something else, raise them in 3 separate fields, or raise them at least on a third of the field here, a third of the field to the other crop, and a third of the field to the last crop. You'll do much better. Because one of the issues comes in, how are you going to control weeds when you have multiple crops growing in the same area in the same field? So even like when guys are talking about raising CRP, for example, and they say, well, I've got clover in my CRP, but I also have grass, and I don't want to kill either one. Well, you've got a grass together with a broadleaf, and it's almost impossible to not kill either the grass or the broadleaf crop, yet kill specific other weeds that are out there.
Well, you talk about multiple crops, Brian. I'm just thinking about multiple emergent states. You look at a field like this. Well, it looks like it's corn, and all the plants look similar sizes. But I was looking through the field. While some plants have 2 leaves on them, some only have 1, and there are a few that are just popping through the ground now. When a corn plant gets 2 leaf stages behind the plant that's right next to it, that corn plant is no longer a useful plant in the field, and it's never going to produce an ear or a crop for you.
So once again, when we're talking about trying to raise the very best crops possible, everything is a weed other than the one crop that we're trying to raise in the field. So when we do weeds of the week in the future where you say, hey, that's actually just a volunteer crop, you should be saving that somehow, we're not gonna save it, okay? Because we aren't going to maximize crop production of the one crop we're trying to raise here. And if we don't try to maximize crop production, that means less overall food for our country and for the world.
I have no idea how you would raise a great crop or maximize production if you have any of our Weed of the Week. Can you identify this week's weed?